Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of humanity's oldest obsessions, the dream of living forever. But what if that dream is splitting into two very real and very different scientific paths?
You know, for millennia, this question was pure mythology, pure fantasy. But things are changing. Science is now sketching out two distinct and potentially real paths to a future that might just never end.
So we're really looking at two radically different philosophies here. One path is all about rewriting our biological code, stopping and even reversing the aging process itself. The other, well, that's a much more dramatic solution, leaving our fragile bodies behind for a purely digital existence. It's biology versus silicon. So let's explore path one first.
Okay, so our first path keeps us firmly in the physical world. The goal isn't to escape our bodies, not at all. It's to fundamentally repair them from the inside out, using a revolutionary tool that could, literally, turn back our cellular clocks.
That tool is called CRISPR, and it's amazing, really. It's a system that was originally found in bacteria. They use it to fight off viruses by cutting up their DNA. Scientists have brilliantly adapted this natural mechanism to reprogram our own cells. It's essentially like having a molecular find and replace function for our entire genome.
So what makes CRISPR such a game changer? It's all about its incredible precision. It's roughly 5 times more precise than the technologies that came before it, which is just a massive leap forward. And when you're talking about editing the very code of life, that level of accuracy, well, it's everything.
And this kind of precision isn't just for fixing typos in our DNA. No, it gives scientists this unprecedented control to modify, delete, or even insert new genes. I mean, just imagine being able to turn specific genes on or off, dialing down the ones that make us age faster while cranking up the ones that help us stay young.
And this is not some distant dream. Pioneers like the Harvard geneticist Dr. George Church are already using CRISPR to reverse aging in human cells in the lab. He's a huge advocate for moving this tech into human trials, and he's driven by this simple but radical belief. We can, and we should, treat aging itself as a disease.
All right, now for a second path, and this one takes a far more radical leap. Instead of fixing our biological hardware, this approach asks a pretty profound question. What if we could just leave it behind entirely? What if we could live on as pure information?
This is the world of whole brain emulation, or WBE. You've probably heard it called mind uploading. The idea is to create a perfect software simulation of a specific brain that, if you run it on a powerful enough computer, would be functionally identical to the original. We're talking same thoughts, same memories, same consciousness. It is a truly monumental engineering challenge.
The whole concept really boils down to two enormous steps. First, you have to scan a brain with unbelievable detail to create a perfect digital blueprint. And second, you have to build a simulation powerful enough to bring that blueprint to conscious life inside a computer. Simple, right?
And right here, this is where we see the true scale of the challenge. A faithful emulation would probably require mapping everything. Not just the major systems, but every single network, every neuron, every synapse, and maybe even the key molecules that make it all work. The amount of data we're talking about it's just incomprehensible.
So how would you even begin to capture all that data? Well, the most technologically plausible approach right now involves something called destructive scanning. This means the brain tissue would be preserved, probably frozen or chemically fixed, and then sliced into thousands upon thousands of ultra-thin layers, with each one being imaged in excruciating detail. And this is how that process could actually be automated. Machines like the one you see here, called an Atlam, are being developed to do this at scale. It can slice brain tissue into a continuous ribbon just nanometers thick, automating what used to be a painstaking manual process. This is what could pave the way for scanning entire brains.
So, both paths promise a future that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. But the journey to immortality, whether it's biological or digital, is absolutely paved with immense challenges.
Now, if you compare the roadblocks, you see two very different kinds of problems. For CRISPR, the hurdles are logistical and societal. The first approved gene therapies cost over $1 million a dose, which raises huge questions about who gets to be young again, right? And how do you even deliver a treatment to trillions of cells at once? But for Warby, the problems are more fundamental. It's not just about the staggering amount of data, it's a deeper philosophical question. Can a perfect map of the brain's structure ever truly recreate the function of the mind?
To really get your head around the data challenge for WBE, just look at this. This is a reconstruction of a tiny cube of brain tissue,
just 2 micrometers wide. That's smaller than some bacteria. The density of information is just staggering. Now imagine trying to scale that up to an entire human brain, which is billions of times larger.
So, as these two technologies develop, humanity might one day face a profound choice about the very nature of its future. Is it going to be biological, or is it going to be silicon?
Despite these overwhelming challenges, researchers in both fields argue that the potential is just too vast to ignore. As this quote suggests, to turn away would be to ignore a pivotal moment in our evolution. The stakes are just so incredibly high, we have to ask, what comes next for humanity? And that brings us to our final provocative question. One path offers a revitalized, maybe even perfected, version of the life we already know. The other offers a completely new form of existence. If the choice were yours, which path to forever would you take? A renewed body or a digital mind?